Day 2 of the Formula 1 Bahrain preseason testing has gone underway with Charles Leclerc taking first with the fastest timing here, and then of course the day 2 of the standings. And then Landonorris, Oliver Berman, surprising for Haas's hopes. Here for, of course, for preseason testing, you must take it with a grain of salt. Not everyone's obviously going to their fastest. It's preseason, obviously. So it's pretty much the rankings. Here's the drivers that didn't do as laps for today. The Mercedes, who have been in a lot of news lately. Same with the Red Bull. But here we're just gonna go underway with all. Before that, the new season of Drive to Survive is coming underway. 8 seasons already. That is mind blowing to me. It felt like it was yesterday watching this for the first time. And now for it to be in its 8th season, there's this whole controversy between, new fans coming in while watching this, or that this show's fake. Like, it's not the true, but it's a definitely entertaining series, and I'm happy that Netflix is carrying that. But here, rounding up day 2, Lando Norris with the most laps for today. Charles Leclerc the quickest time, after last season, and for Ferrari, did not look good at all. You need something to, keep you up your toes, and I guess that's keeping some Ferrari fans' hopes, such as myself. And then George Russell with the top speed there. Here's like a sort of photo listing that shows it. Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Oliver Berman, George Russell, obviously with the top 4 drivers. And then, you see the Mercedes down back there. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt, but there is, the drama coming with Max saying how he doesn't like the new changes, how he says retirement and all this. He says it every year, Max. And then you have Lando saying, yeah, you should retire. So that's pretty. Then Charles was here saying, my running for this first test is complete. We've completed the program without issues, which is always a positive. It's always nice to look at lap times, but in testing, they don't really mean much. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. The focus is stay on ourselves and our work. The feeling of the car is okay, but it's still very early days. Today was about putting as many laps as possible and completing all the tests we had planned. Now we keep working, continue building step by step. Yeah, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter who's the fastest, who's the slowest, or, testing, but it does matter about, the results and what the drivers are saying about their car. You have Oliver Berman in P3. Doesn't mean the Haas is as good as it shows on the board there. But one thing that's not looking good is with the Aston Martin. Lance Stroll, we have engine problems. It's not just engine problems. We're not in a position to fight for wins right now. We're missing 4 seconds. And after seeing this, and there's a video going around of Lawrence Stroll looking, he looks terrible, because maybe in his his head, this Aston Martin is not as good as people were expecting. You're expecting the new regulation changes, bringing in Adrian Newey, expecting something big, putting in so much, Lawrence Stroll putting in so much money into, Aston Martin F1 program, just for it to be 4 seconds behind. That's not the best sign you want to see, especially for, Lawrence Stroll's putting in hundreds of $1 million into this program, and not being able to succeed, and especially being 4 seconds behind. You saw glimpses of it, 2 years ago, with Fernando Alonso getting podiums. Now, since then, it's been one of, if not the best result teams out there. And you have, a good driver, Fernando Alonso, Lance, who I've always backed. People despise Lance Stroll, but I feel like he has it in him. There's just a lot of things going with him. Lance Stroll drives bombshell, and Aston Martin 2026 car, 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds off pace. The AMR 26 is struggling massively after trouble testing. Adrian Newey arrival hasn't fixed any issues yet. Like I said, you bring him in from Red Bull. You're expecting huge things. You're expecting the downfall of Red Bull. Max could be leaving to Mercedes. You see Christian Horner being booted out from there. You see Adrian Newey. You're expecting, it's the downfall of Red Bull. Aston Martin is coming to the up, and it just doesn't look like that. The problems with Aston Martin are absolutely not surprised at all. Honda is very far behind. They are even talking about 3 seconds of engine deficit that the AMR 26 is paying in these days due to precautionary but necessary power reduction. It's a shame, expecting huge things for this So it was on that major team that's having issues with something already known. Uh, just been people asking about it. It's huge, like I said. Hopefully they get their things together. There's still practice, or there's still one more testing tomorrow, and then the week after, they're doing another testing in Bahrain. So cars have another shot with that. And then the whole Mercedes debacle, or they sandbagging. What's the issues? They're slow, but do they actually have the pace in them? The whole thing there. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Bahrain testing. Mercedes rookie Antonelli lasted just 3 laps before a PU failure. Red Bull's warning was lost to a hydraulic leak, hampering setup time. So there's this whole thing. We were saying, first you have Max saying he hates it. It's like driving a Formula E car, and for the retirement. You have Lando saying, "Oh, if you're gonna retire, just retire." And then you have Mercedes. People are maybe they're far behind, and everyone's saying they're not far behind. They're just sandbagging. They're doing this, they're doing that, not putting on the pace. Who knows what it is? And then you have, was it Max? I think it was Max who said, "Watch Mercedes get first in Australia," or was it Lando? One of them said it, that watched them get first, in Australia. And then you have McLaren lags behind Ferrari and Red Bull. Were slower. Admits that the reigning champions after 2026 testing cleared pace deficit. You see a lot of these teams, saying, I mean, like I said, it's testing. Take with a grain of salt. Drivers could just be saying stuff to manipulate other teams to make them think that they're worse than they actually aren't, or whatever the saying goes. So there's that. Lando speaking with Sky Sports after finishing second fastest. We did a good amount of laps. We're certainly not quick enough. Plenty of work for us to look into and try to improve on. I think today was our first bit of understanding on where we stand in terms of pace against at least Ferrari, who did a full long run. We're not really close to them at the minute. We're just certainly not bad, but we're not quick enough. You have McLaren back-to-back reigning constructor champions, Lando just winning driver world champions. So, and people are like, "Oh, we want the downfall of McLaren." It happens to every, I guess, winner. And then here, if Max wants to retire, he can. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So if Max wants to retire, he can retire. We get paid a stupid amount of money to drive, so you can't really complain at the end of the day. Any driver can go and find something else to do. It's not like he has to be here, or any driver has to be here. Basically saying, you talk about it all the time. If you want to retire, just do it. No one's keeping you here. No, if you hate it so much, then just leave. But Max, he's been doing this for a while now. You see it every year, saying he wants to retire, he wants to take a break, he's tired of this, tired of that. You're not going to see me in F1 for that long. Basically just stirring the pot, making it seem that, oh, watch, I'm going to leave, and then we'll see how F1 goes. And if Max leaves, you have Fernando Alonso, who's just, he's old. He's going to retire soon. Lewis Hamilton, who's old, to retire soon. Yeah, Max Verstappen, he still has a lot of years left in him. Max is only, 26, 28? Even though he still has many years, he is still capable of winning many of world championships. And him leaving, does it drop the crazy, momentum of watching F1? You're like, oh, the best driver left. One of the greatest, Max Verstappen, obviously one of the greatest world champions. He's been dominating this decade. Leaving. Lewis Hamilton retiring soon or leaving. Fernando Alonso, staple icon, world champion, leaving. Do you want, I'm sure obviously you have the likes of Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc and Landonorris, but leaving three of the icons of F1, pretty much one of the faces of F1 leaving, is that good for the sport? I don't really think that is. But yeah, it's pretty much with day 2 of testing. Tomorrow's another day, the last day, until I think next week, until they do another set. So a lot of news with here in F1, but here we're gonna try to cover every single bit of it.